Hi, I'm Coach MK, founder of the Fitness Protection Program. I'm a run coach, not a life coach. We're never really talking about the running. Running is the tool. It's the conduit we use to examine the world we live in, as well as its impact on our own lives and the lives of the people around us. How we react to certain people and to certain stories tells us a lot about how we view ourselves. I'm committed to the thoughtful, intentional exploration of the importance of running so that no one discounts their own badassery, ever. Final note, this podcast is geared towards every runner who won't lose their home, livelihood, or health insurance if they show up to the corral with a hangover. Not that I'm encouraging you to do that, just saying. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Fitness Protection Podcast.
It's time to get started with a nice, easy warm-up. If you haven't been doing your silly toes, anytime is the perfect time to start. Okay, real quick, Katie Fry is saying, I just practiced my whoopsie doodle. How can you get the boomerang thing to be longer than a few seconds? I can't hit the button and get to the chair in time. #oops.
Yeah, I don't know how you did it. I just had someone near me.
Yeah, you have to have someone do it for you. So I actually did a time lapse for mine, and my family and I did it 3 times in a row with the time lapse. So it's like a 3-second video, but we're just like going real fast. Up and down, up and down, up and down. So that's one idea. If you don't have someone to do it for you, you can prop up your phone and do a time lapse and take all the time you want, or get a partner to come on in and film the boomerang and time it exactly right. I think that is the only way. Because I tried boomerang too, and I was like, nope, this isn't happening.
Yeah, it's really stressful to try to do a boomerang you're on your own because it's effectively a selfie. So I'm like, just hand someone else and be like, boomerangs are really, really fun. By the way, they're super cute.
I love
ever
them.
Since I've discovered them, I'm like, I can't quite stop, especially with the children. So I have like tons and tons of boomerangs that I've just kind of like downloaded, saved, and then not shared to anybody because they're just fun to make. I don't know. It's ridiculous. I love technology.
They totally are. Yeah.
Did you see If the Moon Was One Pixel?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. This went, I don't want to say viral, but I'm usually not the first person to see viral stuff, but this website is amazing. Google If the Moon Was One Pixel. And this guy did this universe to scale, just our solar system. And it's super cool to play with. I had the best time playing with it this morning. So anyway, the guy who made this also wrote this really amazing blog post right underneath it. I went down a rabbit hole on his website. And he was like, my childhood versus my kids' childhood. I picked their childhood because Wi-Fi. I absolutely love that. I'm like, yep, I picked my kids' childhood because boomerang.
There you go. I picked my kids' childhood because Moana.
We did not have anything quite as cool. I mean, Moana's amazing. Frozen 2 was pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What did you think of that?
I have seen it twice in theaters now.
Wow.
Yeah, because we had to see it opening weekend, and then the following week was Thanksgiving, and Roz wanted to see it again, and I was like, well, this is a 4-day weekend, so I don't see how we're not going to the movies. And she loves going to the movies, and she sits there completely quietly the whole time, and she sat in my lap, thank God, because I was bawling like a baby. Pretty much the whole second half of the movie, I just wept and like held her tightly.
Yeah.
And she was like, Mommy, those giants are really big. She didn't say very much after the first time, and after the second time, she wouldn't stop talking about it, and she has not stopped talking about it. We sing the songs all the time. So I really liked it. I thought it was really good.
I've heard it's an unconfirmed rumor, but usually when I get a direct answer, that's how it's. I got connections at Disney. I've heard that there are not just 1 but 2 follow-up movies planned.
You know, I kind of had that sense. I felt like they left the door open for that with well, I don't want to give anything away about it, but yes, that if they make it as good as that movie, because here's the thing, they did not have to make a good movie. They could have made the stupidest crap in the world and it would have made $1 billion. They did not have to try hard, and they really tried hard. And I thought the music was wonderful and the story was great, and there was a lot to really like about it.
And the original story, I mean, it's like loosely based on the Snow Queen, which is a super problematic story. Frankly, it doesn't really translate to modern times very well. So I like where they're at. I like what they're doing. I liked a whole lot about it. It made me, it made me deeply satisfied. The ending, surprised me how much I liked it. This is not Toy Story 4 where we had to have conversations on the ride home.
Right. I remember that. We didn't record 2 whole podcast intros about it. Which is what we did for Toy Story 4, as I recall.
Pretty much. Yeah, that sounds about right. Because I was on vacation and I was already a little emotional to begin with. And I'm like, if I actually have cancer, then I must pass all of the knowledge on to my children.
They must understand what is really going on in this storyline.
No one might do this once I'm gone.
Oh my God. All right.
With all that in mind, we need to move on.
We need to answer some questions.
If you joined the webinar on Friday, the goal setting webinar, if you weren't unable to join it, if you RSVP'd, you should have received the links and the handouts and the reminders. You can do it on your own time. One thing I did talk about was how your goals need to be something more like a mission statement. I didn't answer the question as well as I would have liked to in that moment. And I wrote a blog post explaining why. Because what I didn't want to say, in the webinar, I just felt a lot freer to say on the blog. You know what? If your goal cannot exist without numbers, then your goal is bull. Because I've had this conversation with managers at every job I've ever had where I was like, it should be a binary. Yes, I did this. No, I did not. Yes, you're satisfied. No, you're not. Yes, you kind of like that I'm here and appreciate the value I bring, or no, I don't. When you're trying to look for the negatives, you're going to find them. I've never really enjoyed that whole back and forth process. So I'd be darned if I'm going to recreate it in my personal life, evaluating myself. Numbers have value. Bing, bing. But they can also be used to abuse. Everything's good until it isn't anymore. So when it comes to your goal, I like to think of it more as a mission statement, like a corporate mission statement that defines the work a company does. So instead of having a goal for the year, like an arbitrary number that we just made up because we felt the need to have a number there, I much more strongly prefer the idea of having a mission statement for the year, which at the end of it, I can say mission accomplished. Yes or no. Pretty simple. And I say that because I've been doing it pretty consistently since 2011 when I got pregnant for the first time. I haven't really had any numerical goals since then because I couldn't. I knew I wanted more children. I knew I didn't have a whole lot of time to do it. Realistically, at the age of 32, if you want 4 children, you've got about 8 years, 10 maybe if you're really lucky in order to do it. So how do I keep running and how do I keep going, knowing that I can't have finish times? I had to start pivoting and looking at my running in a very different way and having it serve a very different purpose. So I wrote a blog post that's in each of the Facebook groups. If you have not seen it yet, Coach Sarah, because she's amazing, might be able to find it and share it here in the live stream and in the show notes.
Good idea.
But if we're also going to be doing, I know Romuel was a very abstract ideal for everyone last year. We're going to be doing the Romuel Roar again this year, where we take things that are supposed to motivate us, but actually make us feel like crap and turn them into messages of positivity. So the whole idea of Romuel, as I do it, means that you take that list of resolutions, tear it up and say, hey, what did I do really well this year? What am I going to commit to doing more of next year? Rather than like what's broken and needs to be fixed, which is honestly nothing. And I like to do the same thing with goals. So it should be motivating. It should make you feel good, not like, and I'll end on this, that whole idea of like, reach for the stars. If you land on the moon, yay, you might land on the moon. And I'm like, that's really way to make a moon landing feel like a failure or a consolation prize. Jesus, like you've set yourself up there from the beginning. Like no one has ever gotten a consolation prize and been like, ooh, this consolation prize is really amazing.
I feel so consoled.
I know, right? Because you can't objectively judge it on its own merits. It's a consolation prize. It's a participation ribbon, and we don't discern between the two. And we know how we're supposed to feel about participation ribbons, and that is why I push back against that toxic notion as well. All that to say, I really want to set everyone up to feel good in 2020. And we don't have a whole lot of questions tonight. I was hoping that we would have more numerical goals to convert into non-numerical goals. I put that call out, but I've also been putting a lot of stuff out in the Facebook group so I can understand how that message would have been lost. If you have a numerical goal that you would like us to help convert into a mission statement for the year ahead, we're going to find ways for you to get those to us. And we're going to be committing the live streams during Romuel to take resolutions and turn them into roars so we can go roaring into the new year instead of whimpering like we tend to do. And we're going to have backup doing this as well, because since so many of us have either mindset type of, I'm not going to let this bother me next year, which doesn't work, type of goals, or we decide that we're going to detox or lose a lot of weight and go like kickstart the year with paleo or cake dough or whatever, whole 30 challenge. Since so many tend to be diet and weight related, we are going to be calling in the big guns named Jumi and Dahlia. They will be joining us for a special Romulan Roar live stream, a last-ditch effort on the 29th to help convert your resolutions into roars to make you feel empowered and excited and ready for a brand new year instead of whimpering and frustrated and be ready to have 2019 behind you, even if 2019 sucked.
Yeah. That is going to be amazing. I love that Jumi and Dahlia are joining in. They are the perfect voices to have in your head as you think in that direction.
They really are. I had to spend a bit of time on the phone with Jumi to help her. And this is how I know the concept is really esoteric, but I'm like, this is what people do. We go from, and the soul felt its worth, to picking ourselves apart. And I just think that's a terrible way to start the new year with, like, it wouldn't take much of a tweak. It took a while for her to get the method, but I think she's like, oh yeah, this is great. So I'm excited that I'm hopeful that in like 3 or 4 years, we will all be roaring instead of resolutioning. That nonsense needs to die.
Yeah, agreed. Warm up is done. Feeling good. Heart rate hovering around 140. Now let's get into the heart of this podcast for the long run. All right, we have some questions. We don't have anything from Renner Interrupted this week. We have people are busy going to holiday parties and baking things, and they've been talking about that. And I think that that's lovely. And it's lovely to see that people are finding places to put their energy that make them happy. And I also just want to note that we opened up things for questions coming from Renner Interrupted too for the goal setting webinar. And a couple of people commented that, like, honestly, they just didn't really know how to even approach goal setting because they're not running right now. And, you know, they're trying to find their way to that. I thought MK gave a really great response to folks who are feeling like, what do I even do with the goal when I know that I'm not running and I don't know when I'll be running? So if you haven't listened to the webinar, I would definitely tune in for that. And we just want you to know that, you know, all the stuff that we've been talking about, setting goals without numbers, that's for you too, because the goals that don't have numbers attached to them are really, really important ones. And I think that there is a way for someone who is a runner interrupted right now to think about what their mission statement for the next year is. It might be more crucial for you than for anyone else, frankly. So if you need help with that, reach out to us.
Because I tend to err on the side of, I know that companies, it's really cool to be like, I want SMART goals. You got to strive for them. They've got to be measurable. I forget what the ART stands for. They lost me at measurable. And I'm a data person, right? I'm a numbers person. Like, look at my education, my career, my resume's online at LinkedIn. It speaks for itself. I get so tired of, as soon as I question someone on a number, they shut the whole conversation down when numbers are really hard. I'm like, come on. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. And we've got a lot of really smart number type people here that love data. Instead of like making it smart, I think it should be it should be thoughtful, right? Thoughtful, heartfelt, intelligent, necessary, and kind. If the goal you're setting for yourself doesn't meet the think standard, then who cares if it meets the SMART standard?
Mm-hmm. So give that some thought. If you need help from us reframing goals, we're here for that. And we'll be here for that for the rest of the month and into the new year. So then moving on to rebuilds. I've been rebuilding for a month now, but it's only 3 days a week, as that was all I was cleared to do by my PT. I've now been cleared to start including more runs. Any suggestions for how to work back up to 5 days? For what it's worth, I've been doing the Monday, Wednesday, Friday runs as run walk intervals and biking or doing yoga the other days.
What I would recommend is just trying to make sure, because remember, what we need to get is your ankles bearing your body's weight and your joints getting used to that position. So I would start with 10 minutes on Tuesday, 10 minutes on Saturday, and then slowly ramping that up as it feels good. I like to think of it as getting the placeholder in, even if it doesn't feel like you're doing very much. So the good news about 10 minutes is that if you live in, Yellowknife, far north in Canada, and it's super duper cold, you've got to put on a whole bunch of clothes to go outside anyway. You don't need to put on specifically run clothes for 10 minutes. You can just go for a 10-minute walk on Tuesday and Saturday. And then do that for a couple of weeks. And then if that feels good and you want more and you're ready to do more, increase it to 20. And then when that feels good and you want to do more, I really am a big proponent of listening to your body, and not in that challenging sort of way, like, I can take it. Like, no, you don't need to take it. You need to not get injured again, right? So like, hear me cheering for you. Yay! 10, you're great. That's enough. And then calling it. So I would get the placeholders in there and then ramp it up and not really worry about adding one day, then the next. I'm just like spacers. All I can think about is we have a couple of runners that are managing breast cancer right now. One of whom is about to get, and she talks about spacers. And I'm like, that's where I think of like, get it in the space and then take up more space.
Yeah. I really like that. Take up as much space as you need to. That's actually a really good exercise for people who are running less than they want to. It can feel really hard to take up space. Taking up space is a really, really good thing to do and to think about doing.
You deserve as much space as my Christmas clothes and shoes on the spare bed over here.
Ooh, that's some space right there. So we had another question just come in the comments here, the live stream. And so it's sort of rebuild adjacent. So I'm going to read it because we had a similar question from a rebuild person last week. I'm not really running right now. I need to address some things with PT after the first of the year when my insurance will pay for it. So slow burn in January or wait?
You can totally do slow burn in January. I am okay with that. When you say you're not running right now because you're addressing a few things, that's good because that means that you're aware, and awareness is a really big deal. Even if you aren't doing the runs, you will get a lot of benefits from the strength. And then, like I said, if this doesn't go well and you want to join a subsequent session, it's not like you will have done it in full the first time. So we'll have no qualms about letting you join it the second time. And again, it'll only be half price, or rather not half price, but half of what you paid to join this session. So this is the year to think that way. We want to reward good decisions and not forcing it or trying to force something to happen because you paid cash money for it. We're trying to come up with systems that incentivize good decisions and making you get what you need without trying to force things. So that's kind of how I would look at it. Go ahead and buy in. Worst case scenario, you do the strength. We do the running later and we don't worry about it. My only concern, and the reason why in the past I have said that I really want people to be doing maintain for a month before they jump into slow burn, is the mentality tends to be, I need a big change. The only way I'm going to commit to a big change is to have a really big goal. So I'm going to sign up for this marathon. So then I'll have to do a lot of running. And that's kind of backwards. That's really, that's not the best logic. Like maybe that'll work, but that's not necessarily going to make running feel good. That's a really good setup for burnout. Like if you saw in the New York Times running blog this weekend, normally I love everything she has to say. This how to pick a spring race really didn't resonate with me because I'm like, who says you have to? But this is the problem with the running industry. It's race to race to race. And if there's no race that we care about, we just fill that blank with something arbitrary and keep moving, not really knowing what we want because there's only one fixed way of looking at things. And that's part of what we're trying to blow up over here at Fitness Protection. That's one of the things that I really want to do with Slow Burn is give you a different way of looking at the same thing. But if you come treating it like, oh, I'm going to get my ish together by doing this, I would strongly recommend you not do that. Let's spend a month getting your ish together and then do this. That does not sound like you. Your ish is together. You know why you're not running. The only time I would be like, maybe we need to wait is if you were trying to impose discipline on a life that you consider to be unruly, like, oh, I need willpower, I need discipline, I need self-control. I'm going to do this really hard program. I'd be like, yeah, maybe you should. Do you really? Is that really what you need? I don't think you need any of that. I think you're good. What do you need to get? I don't know if that feels rambling, but the perspective is really, 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 really important. I don't want you to come in, be in over your head and then feel bad about yourself and be like, well, I couldn't take it, which is like, no, this wasn't what you needed right now. And that's okay too.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great answer. And I hope that other people who are wondering whether slow burn is right for them right now, particularly people in rebuild, because we have had a couple of people in rebuild ask about it. I hope that helps you make that decision too.
Yeah, because anyone in rebuild, it's not about the work. It's not about the running. It's about the consistency. If you're in rebuild, even if you're quote unquote only doing 3 days a week, you're doing something. You're thinking about slow burn because there's something in it that calls to you. There's something in it that sounds interesting. You're not trying to trick yourself into something, So I would have, if you were like, what this person asked me, I'd be like, yes, come on in. You're good.
Yeah. So moving on to maintain, we have some races to give shout outs for. Yesterday, Amy Wilson ran the Millinocket Half Marathon, and I love this. So the last 2 years, she has run the Millinocket Marathon, which is 2 loops of the half marathon course. So this year, she showed up to YOLO and just run 1 loop when she's used to running 2, which I have to imagine felt amazing. And she took a shot of Fireball halfway through and has a photo of her doing that. And I could not possibly love that more.
That's amazing.
That this is like the Millinocket Marathon is such a cool event. It's like totally volunteer. It's free, I believe. You're just supposed to show up and stay in the town and give your money to town businesses, basically be a good sort of tourist in the town and spend some money there. But that's all they ask you to do. Other than that, you just do the race. It's got a really quirky personality, and I've always wanted to do it, and someday I will. And the reason I even know about it is because of Amy Wilson. So yay, Amy Wilson, you're awesome. Then Stacey Clark.
Those look like a sheet of ice, though. Some of her photos, I was like, whoa.
Well, so they're like those sort of dirt gravel roads that get, they get really snowy, but they're packed down. I mean, I think there's pretty good traction on all of them. That's my impression. It's gravelier than it looks.
Gotcha. It looked kind of hardcore. And y'all know me. I'm as yes, I don't like hard work. I don't like really intense stuff. Another reason not to worry about slow burn. It's a program I would do, y'all.
Yep.
It's not like 5K training. So anyway, that looked really hard. Big congratulations to Amy Wilson. That's awesome. And I got excited to mention a fireball that we have to share my grandma's recipe for fire and iced tea. That's one of our favorites, and it rests upon a fireball base.
That is going to have to be one of your recipes that you share this month. I think that would be perfect.
Head on over to the blog at coachedandloved.com/blog, and you can see the first recipe of the month, and that is Coach Sarah's mama's cranberry sauce.
Yes, we make it every year. This year, Roz helped me. It was a lot of fun. Awesome. All right. Next race, Stacey Clark, Rehoboth Beach Marathon. So Stacey, I believe, has not run a marathon since she did, what's it called? The one in Pennsylvania that's like always, isn't it in Scranton? Steamtown. Yeah. I could not come up with the name since she did Steamtown a couple years ago and had like the most humid, terrible weather ever. And she did great, but like it was not her day. And I remember I just felt for her.
And can I just say before you go further, like I remember that too, but so what she decided to do was come pick Rehoboth Beach. And if I had really understood that, I might have said something about it, because we went from like historically a perfect condition marathon to a marathon on the water where there's going to be wind and a lot more variables and nothing to block that wind, especially since it's next to the water. I would have been like, are you sure? There's nothing wrong with Rehoboth Beach. I love the course. I really love the area. But if you're going for an aggressive time finish, there are a couple of things that you need to think about, one of which is how to run in wind, because it's really hard to train for that unless you specifically like have a wind tunnel nearby and you live in Colorado Springs near the Olympic Training Center. So I tell you that to make what Coach Sarah is about to say that much more impressive, because it is really super impressive.
Yeah. Stacey crushed it. She thought maybe she could break 4 hours and she ran 3:57. She was running towards the finish. She saw the clock was in the 3:59s. That was her gun time, 3:59:18 or something. And she just like gutted it out to the finish. After, having run through some serious wind and some serious conditions, some pacers who were like running 8-minute mile pace in the 4-hour pacer group, which is crazy. So she really took it minute by minute.
Remember, we know why that is, right? Running more slowly. You want to go in any given moment is the hardest thing you'll ever do. Pacers are asked to come for something that is comfortably slow, almost their easy effort pace, which no one ever runs in a marathon. So what they're doing is already really unnatural. Demanding that they do it perfectly, you don't want to necessarily hit your race to that. I've said that a lot. I haven't said it lately. I've said a lot in the past. It's something I need to start bringing out and saying again. I think I'm just going to move a lot of my how to race articles from coachedandloved.com. I didn't really want 2 blogs, but maybe I need to take that step and set up a blog on fitness protection for things like this. So well played, Stacey, is my point. You had really good instinct. Yeah. Congratulations on following it. If you're listening to this and you happen to pace marathons, we appreciate you. You do really hard stuff. No one asks you to be perfect. And if you're running, just remember that pacers are people too, and they have trouble slowing down just like you did the first time I asked you to put on a heart rate monitor and do that.
That's right. So congratulations, Stacey. I am really happy for you. Your medal is super cool. I love the photos you posted. Yay.
Hey, and she wasn't on the super hard plan, right? She just ran. It's not like she was doing steady AF.
No. Yeah. She did a dedicated AF, same as me and a bunch of other people. And she was one of those people kind of similar to me who like got into this last week and was like, oh my God, am I really racing in a week? What? That kind of snuck up on me.
That's exactly what we want. She got what she wanted without sacrificing anything in her life in order to get there, which timed that back into all the other themes that we talk about. Hard work is not necessarily rewarded because it isn't necessarily exactly what you need. When you have a mission statement that involves the work you want to do and what you're working towards, you might say, even if you have an arbitrary number there, I really want to break 4 hours in the marathon, you're thinking about the day. You're not thinking about the pieces you need to assemble in order to get there. Like maybe what you need is strength. Maybe what you need is slow burn. That's one of the reasons I've made slow burn. It's your best next step in every direction. You can't go wrong with it because we're not placing the artificial demands on it that we would a really aggressive training plan. So she showed up, had a great year, got what she wanted without having to disrupt everything. So doing things my way does not specifically mean being a loser and letting go of all your goals and dropping all common sense, rational and numbers to the side. It's a different perspective on the same thing that really sets you up for a huge smile on your face like she had. And that's really the best I could want for all of you.
Yeah. Congratulations, Stacey. We're really happy for you. And last, but so very not least, Emma Ross became a marathoner today at the California International Marathon. Yes, Emma. Oh my God. So we haven't heard from Emma yet. She posted to say I'm a marathoner. Yay. And I obviously stalked her results because I stalk everybody's results. And we could not be happier for you. We cannot wait to hear from you. I heard it was a pretty good day at Sim today. I don't know. What have you heard about it?
I mean, I heard it was a pretty good day, but again, there are things about the course that people don't talk about that I find to be the challenges. Because the way we talk about Sim matters. Sim is traditionally known as a really fast course. Well, it's known as a fast field. And that is intentional because they give away more elite entries than any other race in the country. Most races will have like 100 between the men and the women. This one has something like, the last time I looked, and that was several years ago, it was like closer to 1,000. So like that were not 1,000 that were taken, but 1,000 that were open. So this race attracts a whole lot of really fast people that get to come and run with other fast people. So if you're looking only at the average or the median finish times, those numbers are weighted heavily towards the fast people, much more so than in other races, and they're skewed. And it's good marketing. And it's, again, I say this not to denigrate the course, but it's just another reason why I kind of like my eyes roll back in my head when people talk about data because they forget what numbers mean. And how they're presented matters too. I'm not saying Sim does this to deceive, but rather what Sim says and what people hear are two very different things that are hard to reconcile. So more often than not, people show up to Sim forgetting that it's in California, it starts in Bakersfield and ends in Berkeley, in Sacramento rather, and the weather can be a great big variable. There are lots of rolling hills there from 16 to 24, lots of dogleg turns that are going to slow you down. And if it's not too hot, then it could be raining, and those tend to be the two extremes. So there could be a lot working against you at that race. So if you show up and have a good day and you're not an elite, not to say that it's rare, but it tends to be because a lot of people go there with super high expectations that I can't temper and then don't have the day they've been dreaming of. And that was not Emma, which makes me really happy. I always get like hold my breath a little bit when I'm watching what happens at Sim. And I was like, oh, she's good. Oh, she's good. This is great. Her head's right where she needs to be. The weather's not a total disaster, either of heat or rain. And again, I love the race, and I'm really glad that she had a good Sim experience because not all my runners do. And I'm really glad she had a great first marathon experience at her new hometown marathon.
Yeah.
Well, new to her because she just moved there.
New to her. Yeah. She just moved there like about a year ago, a little less than a year ago. Or no, a little more than a year ago. I'm all mixed up what month it is. Can't believe it's December. Oh my God. Yay, yeah. Emma. Congratulations. I feel like I've known you forever. You gave me this amazing mug last year that says drink all the coffee, run all the miles. I'm going to be drinking out of it tomorrow morning and saluting you because I'm so happy for you. Yay. All right. We got 6 questions in Maintain. Let's do it. First one is, do you have any idea what the 50-mile ramp up will look like for 3 days of the fair? I haven't listened to the goal setting webinar yet, so if you went over it then, I apologize. I would like to have an idea when it will start. I've been in Maintain since July. We did not really touch on it, just briefly. So let's take it away.
To be perfectly honest, once somebody's ready to run a marathon, it only takes about 12 weeks to ramp them up from marathon readiness to 50-miler readiness, depending on the 50-miler and how they want to approach it. There are a lot of ifs there because the longer the event, the less likely that event is to be on roads. So this one, though, is pretty predictable, and there are lots of different ways to approach it. So not to push the ball back in your court, but say, think about how you want to do this. This is on a 1-mile loop with bathrooms and showers, and you can exit the course and have a shower, a nap, and then get back out there again. So you don't have to do it 50 miles continuously. We could avoid some of the nasty stuff. Now, if you want to do it continuously, I'm not going to say no. I'm just saying we usually have a very fixed idea about what a race is and needs to be in order to be happy with it. And we don't know any other way to look at it. Things are the way they are because they were the way they were. You could really make this whatever you want it to be. So think about that, because if we're not trying to do it 50 miles continuously as fast as I can without stopping. We have a whole lot of different ways we could approach it. So think about that and then come back to me. But if the answer is like, I definitely want to do 50 miles without stopping as fast as I possibly can, that on-ramp would really need to start no later than the 1st of February. And we are going to be we wanted to let everyone get through the holidays first. So if you want to do slow burn, by the way, do slow burn. That impacts nothing if you want to do the 50 or the 100 miler. As in fact, I would kind of recommend it. If you know you want to do any distance longer than a marathon or back-to-back marathons or any of the multiple multi-hour races, I just want to see how much I can run over the course of 3 days. Cool. Definitely get in slow burn and we'll take it from there. But I do want to have a talk about that with everyone who expressed interest so far. We're going to be having another webinar the second week of January. And we'll send all that out in advance, but we're going to have a webinar and really sort of see what it is people want to do. Because I don't want to write training plans that you're not going to use, or rather sit down on that day and have you say, well, I didn't think I could do that. I didn't know I could do that. And then you've locked yourself into something that you really don't want to do when it could have been more interesting and more fun another way. So think about how you want to do those 50 miles and let's get interested there, because once we take out the continuously aspect, your options get a whole lot better. You have a whole lot more of them and the ramp up doesn't take as long. So yeah.
We'll be talking more about that in the coming months. Everybody who's interested, but, kind of still thinking about where they stand on that question of how they want to do it, keep paying attention. It is going to be fun. Speaking of ultra marathons, hello coaches. Thank you for Friday's webinar. It was very helpful. Before I can plan my year, I would like some advice on the lead up ramp for my 50K in July. So this is a trail 50K in the UK. Will 12 weeks be enough, or is it likely to be longer? If longer, how long? Will there be a definitive 50K plan available for those of us who wish we could join in 3 days of the fair but can't? I'm going to do slow burn in January. Then we'll have up to 7 weeks before a 12-week ramp. So there is time for extra weeks if necessary. Thank you.
I don't want to make this longer or more work than it needs to be. The thing you're going to need the most on the trails is power. It's muscular strength and stability. So the best thing you can do is slow burn what you're doing and then not go totally off the rails, but just go into maintain mode and really take maintain seriously and start getting you, not to say that you don't now, but rather, being really adamant about doing as many runs as you can on the trails. More is better unless you're like turning your life upside down to do it, at least the long run. And then any of the other runs taken on an as you are able to type of basis. Because if we're just trying to complete 50K, we don't really have to sweat that much about it. We just need to be really, really strong and ready for whatever the course is going to throw at us. So if you're going to have a lot of scree and you need to go out with the poles, for example, if the race recommends that you bring poles, then we need to get some practice with the poles. We need to include some upper body exercises so that you're not tired from holding those poles. There's some really amazing podcasts with, I don't think Amelia Boone said this. I'm trying to remember. Maybe it was Katie Groner. The woman who won Biggs did a podcast several years ago where she talked about showing up, just thinking like, oh, I'll use poles if I need to, but she had done no practicing with them and hadn't done. And her delts and her back was like busted about like 20 miles into this 100 miler, which for her up to that point had been a breeze, but this is the first time. So poles are different. Every time we throw in a different element, we need to consider it. We don't need to stress about it. We just need to consider, hey, I might need to use poles. Let's add planks and push-ups. That's it. So yeah, I don't think you need more than 12 weeks for a 50K. It's not like a 10-week ramp and then 12 weeks on top of that, like 12 weeks from maintain start to finish and you're good for 50K.
Yeah. All right. So more on that coming up. And yes, I think you'll probably get some very good insight from whatever plans we bring out for 3 days of the fair. Those will be coming and you'll have a little bit of extra time. So next question, when do we get new marathon plans? Yay. The webinar got me excited to start training for my next one.
I don't want to be like next year, but I really wanted to, because not that many people use them this time. Did you see how many times the file was downloaded? I used to keep track of it, but I kind of...
Oh, interesting. I have not looked at that, but I can go look. That's in Facebook? I guess I can go look in Facebook.
Yeah. So the way the dedicated one works is that it relies on the same, that one's going to be no matter what, because doing the same workouts everybody else is doing and maintain. with very minor differences.
Yeah, for the first few weeks, it's the same pretty much.
Exactly. And we did that intentionally. We want to integrate the training into your life as seamlessly as possible. And that's really what dedicated AF does. Steady AF, you're going to have to disrupt your whole life. I mean, that's what it is. I'm like, why do that? That's why I'm trying to not make it very sexy. I give it the most boring name. Tenacious AF, the best name, the best shirt, the best everything. It's also the least stress. It's a little more of an integration because, it doesn't specifically work off of the harder workouts. But I had written that in mind, assuming that we would have people in Maintain that aren't doing the harder workouts. They're like, you know what? I don't have a need for those. I don't have a place for them. I don't like them. I'm not doing them ever. Great. But you're still here. That is Tenacious. And this is the plan for you. So there are some harder workouts on Tenacious, but nothing really strenuous. So with that in mind, there will be 3, there will be 2 because dedicated changes on its own, but the tapers are always relatively similar. So I hadn't planned on making any big changes until we're introducing a new set until next fall, but that would have you using the same plan twice. Reach out to me directly and we'll get you up and going on the newer one sooner.
Yay.
They don't take that long to write.
Yeah. They're not a whole lot to swap out there. And again, that's intentional.
Yeah.
Next
question. What does take a lot of time is making it formatted and pretty and putting it in a PDF file we can send out. Exactly. We don't yet have the manpower to put it all in Training Peaks because these are all things we want to do, but we need to be open and grow a little bit before, frankly, have the capital to do them.
Next question. Can we talk winter running leggings tights? Would love to hear if Coach Sarah or Coach MK has a favorite running tight for the cold weather. I find they are either not warm enough or not breathable enough.
Yeah, the breathable thing is tough.
That is tough, yeah.
You are outside a whole lot more than I am. I have 2 pair that I love, and tights are something I just stopped buying a long time ago. As we all know, I don't like pants, and they fall down on me. And I don't know why that is. I've always said I don't have a very defined waist. My body's kind of like this. So with nothing to cling to, pants slide down and they drive me nuts. So I have 2 pair that are uncomfortably tight, but warm enough. One is winter running with the shield in the front that I got from Lululemon of all places. They do really great winter stuff. And the other is a skin tight type clingy pair. That's not a brand that even comes to mind because they were designed for bikers.
Interesting. Well, so I have lots of tights because, you should see the drying rack in this room right now. I am always washing tons of running clothes. It's like my drying rack is always just covered in running clothes, especially in the wintertime. Because I've said this before, I really like layers. I don't actually have any like fleece lined leggings. I used to have some. I wore them until they had a hole in the crotch and then I threw them out. And I haven't found any that like I like enough that I would want to spend the money on to replace them with. Because honestly, I just wear regular weight ones. And on really cold days, like today it was 11 degrees when I went out running. On really cold days, I put my skiing long johns over my tights. And I find that really works for me. It's just enough kind of extra around the tights themselves without like adding like the fleece makes me sweat. That's the other thing. I do not love fleece layers when I run because I sweat. Even my gloves, I was wearing these like fleece lined mittens that are not thick mittens at all, but just the fleece line made my hands sweat in 11 degrees. These are really personal things that people just kind of learn about themselves over time, but my go-to is layers.
The one thing I can tell you for sure is that you do not want to Google mask with mouth hole ever. The word is balaclava, and those are hard to run in. If you have one without the mouth hole, it makes a big difference. I Googled that once, and now that has skewed the images I get in Google forever. I've made calls about this every year. I'm just like, I'll Google something randomly and I'll get porn. And I'm like, really?
Oh, no.
And I mean, not like the Google Care Bear stare either, guys. Oh my God, that will never be the never. But all because of mask with mouth hole that I Googled in 2013 after I moved here and was like, what do you call this? But that none of the balaclavas they just had the shield. And I run in glasses especially on snowy days. So it was like fogging up anyway, so you need that hole so you don't get the fog.
For that part of your anatomy, the face, I like the Buff. That's the brand, I think, it's the Buff and there's a Buff and a half Buff. And it's like fleece on one side and not fleece on the other side, but it's kind of reversible and it's really warm. And that is a great accessory. It's for the top half, not the bottom half. But someone has also mentioned, actually, somebody asked about this in the Facebook group and someone replied and said Skirt Sports makes a fleece skirt that can keep your bum warm if like a cold bum is something that bums you out. Sorry, that was terrible. Yes. That comment was just made today. I know. Yeah, seriously. Someone just commented that today, that really helps. I don't wear those, but I hear they're great. 2 more questions. If you have follow-up questions about layers, I got lots to say about that.
I've got a list somewhere. I think I might have pushed this over from my old Facebook group, from the original Fitness Protection Facebook group. I know I wrote a post about the balaclava warning. I think that's literally what I called it a long time ago. And I need to update it anyway. We can just put together our favorite cold weather running stuff. Again,
yeah, that sounds
if
good.
anything is sponsored or affiliate, I'll let you know, but we don't really do affiliate links. I don't really want to. The things that we share are just things that we like. I'm very hesitant to start taking money for that. It's going to be a while before I do. I'd rather just get subscribers in here and keep your trust.
Yep, I am with you on that. All right, 2 more questions. For the past week or so, my heart rate has jumped up in the first few minutes of my run to the 160s or higher. Sometimes it goes down again within a minute or so. This morning on my long run, it didn't go down within a minute, so I disconnected the strap from my watch, ran with my wrist monitor for a minute or 2, which had normal numbers, and then reconnected, and it was fine for the rest of my long run. Heart rate in the 130s with risings and fallings for hills and pickups as expected. Is this normal? A sign that my heart rate strap needs to be replaced, or something going on with me?
I wouldn't say it's something going on with you. If this person is in a cold place or a place where it's colder, it takes about 6 minutes for the connection to be really good. It's just the nature of energy and how it works and how heat transfers. If you're wearing the strap against your skin and you've got wool on top of it, that's going to create some static electricity that will interfere with the signal being able to transmit. And it takes roughly 6 minutes for your body's heat to catch up to the technology's heat and for those signals to even out. So I tend to, if you live in a cold place, especially on a day when you're wearing wool or are sweating a lot, you've really got to ignore everything that's happening in the first 6 minutes. You've been doing this long enough with me. Pretty much everyone here has. We have like a very, very tiny handful of clients that we've picked up since we opened our doors. And again, that was intentional. I need to make sure everything worked, but I digress. If you are new to this, I get how that can be frustrating, but if you've been using a heart rate monitor and taking stock at least of your own effort for 3 to 4 months, you probably have a pretty solid idea of where easy effort is. And so just try to feel it through those first 6 minutes and don't worry about it. If you live in a place that is hot or where like you're in Arizona and this is nothing I just said resonated at all, again, I wouldn't default to there's something wrong with me. It could be that you need to wash the strap or replace the battery in the monitor. I know I have been getting a lot of funky reads on mine lately, and I don't completely know why. And it's been really frustrating. So I have been sort of taking the never totally ignoring heart rate, but when my heart rate is read is being very erratic, that's when I just flip to the power, because power tends to be a lot more steady. It isn't something that's being read. It's something that's being calculated with every footfall. So that is when I'll be like, okay, heart rate is not working for me. Plan B is to run with the power cap. So that's how I have been doing it. That's how I navigate it. I'm not saying like throw the heart rate monitor away forever. I never will. But thing one is not working. Then rather than assume there's something wrong with me or something's wrong with the thing, have that good backup ready. And if you don't have a power meter, then that's when you just take a look, matching your breathing to your footfalls and not speeding up too much, being very realistic about how your breathing feels at that moment. That'll get you a lot further than you think it will. So very high level. I know it's not a direct answer, but I can't, see you to troubleshoot. So that's kind of how the framework of what I would go through to troubleshoot depending on where you are.
All right. Sounds good. Last question. I think this is a good one to end on. I've been mulling over what would be a good goal for me. Slow burn coincides with busy times for me, and a marathon is not something I'm interested in. This morning, I keyed on a word, steadfastness. I think that would work. Yeah. What do you think?
I like that because it can be whatever you need it to be. So here's the thing about goals. You guys have heard me talk a lot, if you've been around for a while, about how I feel about like the A goal, B goal, C goal, or stretch goals. I don't like it. Again, it's like reach for the moon, reach for the stars, and you might land on the moon. You're setting yourself up for a consolation prize before you start. Even if you know that your A goal is your stretch goal, that's the first thing you go for. Right. Yeah. And once it's gone, you're no longer excited about your B goal. You already feel like you're behind playing catch up, holding on to something that could be flying away from you. And a lot can change over the course of a year. We've been conditioned and rewarded for giving the right answer instead of the true answer at multiple points throughout our life. This is an ongoing thing well into adulthood. Very few of us have had the luxury to look inside and say, what do I really want to do? This is where the midlife crisis and the quarter life crisis comes from. I gave all the right answers in hopes that I would get to the point where I could start to give the true answers. And I don't know what the true answer is or how to find it. It's time for a journey of self-discovery. And that, it has a very distinct look and feel. Our generation, my generation, is now looking to athletic feats, ultras, daring new things and hobbies. So I tell you that to tell you this. The reason I like steadfastness as sort of a mission statement I want to be steadfast for all 2020. What you're doing is you're already acknowledging that some things might be coming your way, and you're not overcommitting yourself and setting yourself up for failure by acknowledging that you could be derailed. Because it's not about, I will do this no matter what, than trying to force this thing that really arguably doesn't matter that much. Like, you're a sentient human. But if we are setting ourselves up for failure, we are artificially assigning importance to something, then we're not really being true to ourselves or fair to our family. So I like the idea of, I'm just going to be steadfast, because what I think of is, would that have worked as a mission statement for me, having just given birth to Violet in 2018? Granted, it was at the beginning of the year. I had no idea yet what the year was going to hold. And I'm going to be steadfast. Would that have worked? Yeah. Once the storm started hitting, absolutely. And then coming into 2019, one kept hoping I would be recovered or over it or past, and I wasn't. And it wasn't for lack of trying. It's just how it worked out. I'm going to continue the steadfastness. Yeah, that would have worked too. So I like that. And that is why. But only you kind of know what you need to be steadfast through. So can it work? Absolutely. It absolutely can. Will it work? No one's really going to know that other than you. Think about what you need to get out of the year and what kind of work you're willing to do. And hopefully steadfastness will define that work quite nicely. If I do this, am I still being steadfast, or am I being scared? Am I operating from a place of excitement and love, or is that fear? And again, I know that sounds a little high touch and hokey, but that's what a journey of self-discovery is, figuring out what you want to do and why. This is your goal. This is your year. This is your work, and this is your oyster. If running is not your self-care, if the work is not working for you, then we need different work. And if your work is not falling out of the mission statement, out of your goal, then we needed to define your goal differently and to rewrite your mission statement. I'm happy to help do that with you.
God, that was beautiful. Good job with the steadfastness, whoever's idea that was. And thank you for that beautiful response. There is more where that came from. And please come to us with your goals. That's right. That's right. Come to us with your ideas, your goals that you want to reframe, your ideas for reframed goals that you want to explore. We are here for that. And we are so excited to usher you into 2020 with us.
And remember, there's no shame here. So if you give us a goal and I reframe it, or Coach Sarah reframes it, or Jimmy or Dahlia as well, we're not saying you're wrong. It's that we don't talk that way and we don't think that way. All we're trying to do is help you create the most effective coaching cue for yourself that you could possibly have, the cue that would get you to the outcome that you deserve, and the one that will be fair and respectful to everything else you have going on in your life. Because a lot of times we tend to look at running in a vacuum, forgetting what else we have, or not regarding what else has going on as though taking that into account is weakness, and it's really not. I think the traditional frameworks have failed us and they're pretty crappy, and y'all deserve better than that. So please, I understand that there's a little hesitation involved, but we're not here to tell you that you're wrong. We're here to tell you that you're coached or love, you're winning at life. You are not broken. You've never been broken. You came into this world with everything you needed to be everything you want to be. So why are we going to go putting BS KPIs and performance metrics on yourself? Like, let's talk about what you want to do and make sure that you have like a guiding light in the darkness when I'm not there, reminding you like, is that going to get you what you want? I don't know. Do we really need to do that? Is that really making you happy? I don't think you sound like you like this very much, because all I can think of are the people I know who talk about running. Running makes me so happy. And then go on to describe something like effectively a cycle of abuse. So I'm here to help break those cycles and set you up for maximum success. And that does not require throwing goals away. Quite the opposite. It's knowing when to be kind of firm and when to be gentle. And generally speaking, the firmness is not directed towards you. The firmness comes from needing to defend and guard those boundaries and parameters around your self-care. No, I'm not going to do that because I'm getting my run done today. No, I'm not doing this because this matters. And I shouldn't need like a finish time on top of it for no to mean no and for this to matter. Get out my way. you should not need, not that shame and live in the should, but if you feel like you need a really big goal in order to defend and protect that space on your calendar, that's valid. Go with that. I will help you write that too. I will help you craft it. I am here to support you and help you get what you need to get. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong for wanting what you want. And if you say to me, this is the only way I can get what I want, cool. I want to find a way that helps you do that, be whatever you need to be to the outside world, while making sure you hear my voice in your head being like, this is an act, this is a performance. You keep performing, but don't you do this to yourself. You're advocate in a world of noise.
Woo! Hard work is done, but you know that the run doesn't end until you have a nice cool down and get on that foam roller. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm lucky to have you. I couldn't do any of this if I didn't have you reading the questions. So I can sit here and watch my earrings twinkle.
I love watching your earrings twinkle too. I don't get to do as much of it when I'm reading the questions, but I have to switch back and forth every now and then so I can just take a look.
Well, when your pair arrives for Christmas, you just need to not wear them too much during the live stream then, Sarah.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, I keep thinking we should try StreamYard with the live stream, but then I would have to look at my own earrings and I don't know if I'd be as good at reading the questions.
I mean, I'm all for it, but it does, when you're watching yourself, it's hard to watch all the other things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I like you being the one with the earrings and me being the one who doesn't have to be seen. I am very good with this arrangement.
Yay!
Yay, everybody. Have a great week.
Have a great week. And don't forget, the prices go up on Slow Burn tomorrow night, the final hours. Here, go ahead and get into Slow Burn if you think it's what you want to do, because not that tomorrow's too late. We are closing the cart completely on the 17th. After December 17th, you will not be able to buy into the program until the next time we decide to open it for subsequent rounds, because we need to figure out exactly what the demand is and what we want to offer alongside it. The program itself is finalized, the offerings on top of it. How often you're going to be seeing me and Coach Sarah, that not just yet. So a program of 25 people versus 500 people has to run very, very differently. So with that in mind, we're closing the card on December the 19th. If you think you want to buy, why wait? Go ahead and do that now before the prices go up.
Yay. All right, everybody. That's all we got.
You're coached, you're loved. Show me your whoopsie doodle. Buy into Slow Burn. Let's all win at life together.